Hello and welcome to Unacademy. How to prepare polity for the civil services examination. That's the key question we shall be addressing in this session. What are the sources that you need to follow? Book list. What are the types of questions asked in the examination? What is the standard of questions asked in prelims and mains from Indian polity? All that and much more we are going to discuss in this session. But before we start, Indian polity is considered to be one of the most important subjects for the civil services examination. Why? Because it is relevant in all the three stages of this exam: prelims, mains, personality test. In mains, your knowledge of polity will not only help you in GS paper 2, but also in GS paper 4, which is ethics, integrity, and aptitude. If your optional subject is, let's say, PSIR, public administration, sociology also, your knowledge of polity, the laws will help you write better answers in these subjects. Plus, your knowledge of polity is also going to help you in the essay paper of mains. And not to forget, your knowledge of laws, current affairs, developments is going to be extremely crucial when you appear in the third stage, which is the personality test. Indian polity is important because look at the number of questions asked from this subject in prelims. Consistently, on an average, 15 to 16 questions have been asked from Indian polity in the prelims examination. Yes, in 2026, the number of questions were less. And that is why people say this was the most difficult question paper ever. But if it was the most difficult question paper ever, even then you could have got 9 out of 10 polity questions right. Even then, polity is very important. When it comes to the mains examination, consistently, sometimes 150, sometimes 165, sometimes 175 marks worth of questions are asked from Indian polity and governance in GS paper 2. That's why we say Indian polity is one of the most important subjects for the civil services examination. And now let's focus on what exactly do we need to study in Indian polity, how, book lists, sources. Let's look at the types of questions asked in prelims as well as the mains examination and what is the approach that you need to follow for Indian polity. But to tell you, Unacademy is launching a new batch exclusively in English medium for CSE 2027. You look at the prelims 2026 question paper and notice the trend overall for many years now. Your knowledge of English comprehension is not only going to help you in CSAT but also in GS paper 1 of prelims. So you need a sound understanding of the question pattern. You need to understand the large and long passages that are now asked in the prelims examination. And for that, English comprehension is important. And an English batch purely for those who are attempting this exam in English medium, we are launching an Elevate batch beginning 31st of May. You can subscribe to that batch by using this code IAS English, and this subscription is right now available at 16,999. Let's get started and let's focus on the most important things. In 2026 prelims examination, which is considered to be one of the toughest prelims examination ever, toughest question paper ever, let's look at the kind of questions. Questions on Article 13, because once you understand that, it's easier to talk about the strategy and the types of questions asked in the exam when a question paper is conventional, normal, standard, repetitive. But if UPSC is throwing bouncers at you, even in that difficult movement, are these polity questions doable or not? That's something that you need to keep in mind. This question spoke about Article 13 of the Constitution. This question was asked in Prelims 2026. And if you look at my courses, I devote more than 1.5 hours just to make students understand what is Article 13 of the Constitution. I'm not bragging, but the point is, you need in-depth understanding of topics so as to clear this examination. And this is where it is important. Similarly, here was this question, completely factual question. There is no article in the Constitution which specifies that this Constitution will be called the Constitution of India. There is no article which says Indian Independence Act has been repealed. There is no article in the Constitution that mentions this date as the commencement of the Constitution. I always tell my students, stay attentive in the class, revise the notes, and you will be able to solve every question or majority of the questions asked in Indian polity in the examination. Article 393, the Constitution may be called the Constitution of India. This Constitution will come into force on 26th of January 1950. And then I make a distinction between 26 Jan 1950 and 26 November 1949. Indian Independence Act 1947, Government of India Act 1935 together are hereby repealed, covered in the classes. Similarly, a question related to zero FIR, covered in the classes. So what am I trying to say? I'm saying for Indian polity, even if it's a difficult question paper, even then, your preparation should be such that at least 9 out of 10 questions you should be able to solve. At least 9 out of 10 questions. And for that, you need to understand what should be the right preparation strategy for Indian polity. See, in Indian polity, there are 4 things that you have to keep in mind. First, you have to read the Constitution. Preamble, Union and its territories, citizenship, fundamental rights, directive principles, so on and so forth. How? I'll tell you slightly later. So first thing that you have to focus on is the Constitution. Second, the laws enacted by the legislature. For example, the BNS, Child Labor Abolition and Regulation Act. So many different laws, Aadhaar, enacted by the parliament. Third, judicial verdicts. Because when you will write the mains examination, unless and until you incorporate the case laws, the judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court, your answers will not get good marks. So in Indian polity, you need to focus on the Constitution, the laws enacted by the legislature, various judicial verdicts, and updates as per the syllabus. What do we mean by updates as per the syllabus? There are rules of business and procedure. For example, in 2026 prelims, there was a question asked on starred question, unstarred question, whether supplementary questions can be asked or not. What was the source of that question? The rules of business and procedure of the Lok Sabha. So these rules of business and procedure of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, the various committees, you need to focus on them as well. These are the 4 pillars on which the Indian polity syllabus rests. I forgot to tell you initially, in GS paper 2, in mains examination, we talk about polity, governance, social justice, and international relations. In this particular session, we are not talking about governance. We are not talking about social justice, international relations, because social justice is dealt by a different teacher, IR is dealt by a different teacher. Yes, I teach governance, but in this session, I will specifically focus on Indian polity. And Indian polity rests on these 4 pillars. But then what is the source? What are the books that you need to follow? These 2 are the fantastic books written on Indian polity. Class 11th textbook, NCERT textbook, Indian Constitution at Work and Political Theory. If you have time, in a sense, if you can't directly jump to the standard books, you want to first start with the basics, lay your foundation. These 2 books are a must. Start with these 2 books. First, Indian Constitution at Work, then Political Theory. After you are done with these 2 books, then you have to read Indian Polity by M. Laxmikanth. But I must tell you, this book, M. Laxmikanth, is primarily relevant for prelims examination. It is not relevant for the mains examination. Laxmikanth is relevant only for the prelims, not for the mains examination. But even then, you will have to read it. But then, sir, what is required for the mains examination? I'll tell you slightly later. But supplementing this should be the Bare Act. Whether soft copy or hard book, whatever you want to follow, Bare Act basically is all the articles of the Constitution in one book. Which means whenever you're reading fundamental rights from M. Laxmikanth, or whenever you're attending a class, keep this Bare Act open so that you can see exactly what is mentioned in the Constitution. Because direct questions have been asked from Bare Act in your prelims examination. So, what are the things that you need to keep in mind? That Indian polity rests on these four pillars. What are the sources that you need to refer to? Two beautifully written NCERT books. After you're done with them, then Laxmikanth and together Bare Act. But listen to me carefully. This is for those who are resorting to self study. If you are preparing for this exam on your own, but if you are joining a coaching institute, for example, you are joining an academy, then you don't have to read the NCERTs, but you will have to follow the class lectures. You will have to follow the PDF which I will be providing. Even then, you will have to read Laxmikanth. Even then, you will have to keep the Bare Act open. Plus, you need to supplement it with newspaper. And once you supplement this with the newspaper, you are ready not only for prelims but also for the mains examination. So, what's the difference? You will not be able to understand the difference between prelims and mains unless and until you understand the PYQs, previous year's questions. In prelims, UPSC focuses on facts or concepts. Whether you have the factual knowledge, whether you have the conceptual understanding. Look at the question on your screen. When a bill is referred to a joint sitting of both the houses of the parliament, it has to be passed by what type of majority? Pure fact, this question can be asked. But the same topic, joint sitting, can be asked in the mains examination, like this. The Indian Constitution has provisions for holding joint sessions of the two houses of the parliament. Enumerate the occasions when this would normally happen and also the occasions when it cannot, with the reasons thereof. When joint session can take place, when it cannot take place, and tell the reasons also, why or why not. So here in mains examination, focus is on elaboration. Focus is on analysis of the facts and concepts that you have studied for the prelims examination. You need more examples? Prelims 2023 question. Consider the following statements regarding Attorney General for India. Facts as well as concepts are asked in this question. But same topic was asked in the mains examination. The Attorney General is the chief legal advisor and lawyer of the Government of India. Discuss. So here you need to elaborate. So long story short, prelims focuses on facts and concepts. Mains focuses on elaboration of the concept, analysis of the concept. And once you are attending these class lectures, where we will focus both on prelims as well as mains, then you read Laxmikanth for factual understanding, for memorizing more facts. You read the Bare Act so that you remember the article numbers. Then you are ready for prelims examination. But once you link it with the newspaper, then you are ready for the mains examination. How? Governor is a topic for the syllabus, in the syllabus for polity. Facts related to the office of the governor. What are the qualifications required in order to be appointed as the governor of a state? What are the powers available with the governor? Can the same person be appointed as the governor of two or more states? But then the analysis of the office of governor. Look at the recent controversies. What the Supreme Court said in the Tamil Nadu case, what the Supreme Court said in Punjab case, what the Supreme Court said previously in Arunachal Pradesh case. This is how you need to incorporate, integrate, and that is how you will be able to write the mains examination. Because I told you, this polity syllabus is on four pillars: constitution, laws passed by the legislature, judicial verdicts, and updates. So, constitution plus judicial verdicts, focus. Laws plus judicial verdicts, focus. Laws plus judicial verdict, For example, is the Digital Data Protection Act, Personal Data Protection Act amendment violating Right to Information Act of 2005, for which there will be a judgment of the court? This is what will be asked in the examination. A 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court is going to decide whether essential religious practices doctrine is correct or incorrect. Whether a public interest litigation can be filed by a non-devotee, because that's what is related with the Shabri case. So, constitutional principles link it with the judicial verdicts, you're ready for the mains examination. Because these are the things, this analysis or elaboration is missing, absent in Laxmikanth. Otherwise, I would have told you just follow Laxmikanth. So, if you are preparing on your own, then Laxmikanth, Bare Act plus newspaper. If you are not preparing on your own, you're joining us or any other coaching institute, follow that teacher, follow the class lectures, and then just keep on updating the newspaper, updating your information from whatever updates are happening in current affairs related to Indian polity. And now you also know what is the difference between prelims and mains when it comes to this examination. Let's now talk about something very important. What are the types of questions asked in the examination? One type of this, pure fact. If you want to remove the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, in that case, will he preside over the Lok Sabha? Will he have the right to speak? Will he be entitled to vote on the resolution in the first instance? Pure facts picked up from rules of business and procedure. That document will be asked in the examination. Pure facts. Similarly, conceptual questions. Not every type of bill which lapses upon the dissolution of Lok Sabha would be mentioned in Laxmikanth or would be mentioned in a document. But there is one concept that you have to keep in mind. A bill which is originating as well as pending in the Rajya Sabha does not lapse upon the dissolution of Lok Sabha, because Lok Sabha will get dissolved after every 5 years or even before that. That we need to discuss how. But if Lok Sabha, one house of the parliament, is dissolved, what will happen to a bill? If it is pending in Lok Sabha, it lapses. If it is pending in the Rajya Sabha, it does not lapse. But what if this bill originates from Lok Sabha and is now pending in Rajya Sabha? Even then, this bill lapses. Why? Because both conditions should be met. A bill originating in Rajya Sabha and pending in the Rajya Sabha does not lapse upon the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. So sometimes facts, sometimes conceptual. And sometimes the UPSC will go and ask questions in a beautiful manner, such as this. This is the type of question that we never witnessed in this examination, but that doesn't mean this question is difficult. The pattern only has changed. The options have changed, but concept remains the same. So if your concepts are strong, if your foundation is strong, no matter how much difficult the question paper would be, you should be able to solve them. This is what I wanted to convey, that Indian polity is important, despite the fact, regardless of the fact that less number of questions were asked in Indian polity from in prelims 2026. But that doesn't mean this subject has lost its relevance. It is going to come back even stronger next year. And for that, if you're preparing, what is it that you need to keep in mind? Bare Act, NCERT, Laxmikanth, current affairs, put together, this is the right approach to follow. If you are resorting to self-study, read NCERTs, then Laxmikanth, newspapers, and the Bare Act. If you are joining us, then you don't need to read NCERTs, because I will teach in the class, assuming that you're all engineers, you know nothing about this exam. So we'll start from scratch and then gradually we will build up. My notes will be comprehensive for prelims as well as mains, but then link it with Laxmikanth so that if I miss some facts, those facts are there in the Laxmikanth. Plus, I have 3 video lectures available on our YouTube channel covering the Bare Act. But how Bare Act should be read for your examination, that I will teach you in the classes. Should you wish to join us, you are more than welcome to enroll and subscribe to Unacademy. Thank you for watching. If you have any further doubts with respect to Indian polity and its preparation plan, do let me know. Do ask your questions in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.